Hello, in this video we're going to discuss where the word holy comes from. So in the first history, God had created a planet and there was atmosphere and gravity. There was no star. Instead, this planet had a furnace that worked similar to how a star operates, and that's how the planet was warmed up. The furnace had to be turned on for a couple of days and then left off for a couple of days. In space above the planet was a light which was produced by two elements that had been placed together by God. God lived underground in tunnels and caves with 24 angels. Now the angels were all men and are exactly the same as a human male on earth, with the exception that they are much shorter. So God is just under 4 feet tall. These angels were around 3 foot tall, some slightly taller. The problem is that when God was created, he was created in an environment where there was zero gravity. With the angels, they were created on this planet in the presence of 1 g of gravity, inside a chamber that's made of wormhole element, which is the same type of material that the chamber was made of that God was created in. So the angels, when they were created, had a couple of problems. One of them was short-term memory loss. This was due to the fact that a bone protruded into the brain, separating a pair of neural pathways which were associated with short-term memory. So it didn't come up all the time, but it came up sometimes regarding the angels from the batches. With the males, there was another problem, which was the foreskin was completely covered and there was no hole to urinate through or ejaculate. So these men would die after a few days or few weeks or sometimes longer. How they survived was they would drink water from troughs. The water from the troughs was produced by a wormhole which emitted water into the trough. And in order to make the water drinkable after a period of time, so it wouldn't become old, mana was placed in it. So that was the water that they drank, and for food, the only food at the time was mana, which resembles the host that you have at communion in a Roman Catholic Church. When an angel died, God would place the body inside the chamber, and the body has the soul attached to it. What happens then is God would then touch the inside of the chamber and inject gravity, which starts a soul refilling cycle, which takes 8 seconds. From there, a wormhole emits a type of goo and refills the soul with a new body. What God had to do was find a way to make a hole so that the Gabriel batch could urinate. So in order to do this, God returned to the chamber where he was created from through a wormhole. And inside that chamber, God could do the same. He would die of asphyxiation, then refill the chamber with air, and then refill his soul with a new body. And with his old body, he had created a type of knife out of some rock which was incredibly sharp, and he was able to test the knife on his former body's penis, and circumcised it in order to check that it was a safe thing to do. When God was content that it was okay, he also tested it on himself. Then he returned to the planet where the angels were and circumcised the men. From there, the men were all happy and said it was holy. And so that is where the word holy comes from. The Gabriel batch were incredibly happy with not having to die all the time from not being able to urinate. And they lived happily from then on without having to suffer that problem ever again. All the male batches all had to be circumcised because of that situation with the foreskin. And likewise, if their body died and their soul was refilled, again, they'd have to be recircumcised. Here on earth, an angel from the Gabriel batch circumcised all the males in his family except for one. And that's how circumcision was brought to earth. So if you remember Joseph and the coat, the story of Joseph and the coat, his father circumcised all the males in his family except for Dan, who refused to let him circumcise him. They had a bit of a debate, and Dan's father let it go, and so it was just Joseph and Ben and the other brothers, who were circumcised. So that's how circumcision for males was brought to earth. We do not circumcise females at all. That is a barbaric practice and would result in a person being taken to purgatory if they should ever enter heaven. I'm the Archangel Daniel, and I'm from heaven.